Hey guys, and welcome back to New Earth Alchemy. Today's episode is part 2 of how to manifest money. Last week we talked about part 1, essentially. We discussed our relationship with money and how to make sure it's a good one. But there was a lot more I wanted to cover because there's a lot more to it. It's kind of a big subject. I mean, just like any other relationship, it's a lot of work. Relationships are a lot of work, and it doesn't matter if that relationship is with a person or if it's with something like money. It's going to be work. But also, it's going to be worth it, right? There's nothing that matters more, nothing that brings us more joy and purpose and fulfillment than the relationships in our life. So today I want to talk about some things that may be holding you back that you may not realize are holding you back. Because, surprise, surprise, most people self-sabotage themselves from the manifestation of money. What? Why would we ever do that? And, of course, it comes back to our good old belief system, those subconscious programmings in the back of our mind. Namely, fear. Fear's a big one, which is crazy. You know, why would we be afraid to manifest money? Why would we be afraid to have money? And at first glance, I get it. You're like, Savannah, you're crazy. I'm not afraid of money. Like, give me the money. I'm definitely not afraid of it. But you have to take a really good look at your belief systems around money and the having of it and what you actually believe on a subconscious level may happen if money becomes a non-issue in your life. Humans are super, super good at self-sabotaging without even realizing we're self-sabotaging because of the fear of change. We would rather stick with the devil we know, per se, than create a new one or venture into a new one because of the fear of the unknown, because of the fear of change, because we're afraid that it may mean more responsibilities. Or, here's a good one, because we're afraid of how people may look at us if that thing happens. Maybe we're afraid of how our relationships would change if we had the resources that we needed. And there can be a mountain of reasons for this. There's as many reasons as there are people on the planet. I'll list some, but remember, there's billions of reasons that we could be afraid of this. So if one of my reasons doesn't resonate with you specifically, then that doesn't mean that it's not still a fear in there. But perhaps we're very codependent. So reason number 1, or example number 1, codependency. Perhaps we have a very symbiotic relationship with somebody or something, and if we had the resources that we needed without them, then there's the fear that we wouldn't need them anymore and that relationship would fall apart. Or perhaps it's other people's codependency on you, and you're used to providing for these people, or these people are used to you providing for them, but your resources are limited, so you can only help them so much. Perhaps there's a fear in there that if your resources were unlimited and you could provide for them more, that you wouldn't be able to create boundaries and they would just take and take and take or demand more or whatever, which would cause a strain on your relationship. That's absolutely a thing. People hold themselves back because they're afraid that the people around them would take advantage of them if they had the resources. This is particularly common when you have toxic family members that you should probably create some boundaries around anyway. And not only family members, friends too, which can also be a hard navigate. But do remember, we want to spend the most time with those who have the qualities that we want, right? Because we rub off on one another. And if we're hanging around, spending a lot of time with people who don't possess qualities that we ourselves would like to adopt, then we're probably moving away from our goals instead of towards our goals. So just, be mindful, hold boundaries. Moving on, perhaps we're afraid that it's going to change our life in not necessarily a bad way, just in a different way. Maybe we're afraid there's going to be more responsibility put on us or more work. Maybe we don't want to work any harder than what we're doing. Maybe we're afraid it's going to tie us up and we're going to have less free time. Maybe we're afraid we're going to have more free time, which again sounds crazy. but is absolutely a thing. People are afraid to sit with themselves. They're afraid of not being busy, because if they're not busy and they have time to sit with themselves, all of their old demons come out to play, and that's not fun. We don't want to face those old traumas and thoughts and emotions that we've been suppressing. Maybe we're afraid that money's going to make us a bad person, and we don't want to be a bad person. You know, a lot of people think that the rich are bad people, greedy and crooked and selfish, and this is a very solid fear. Most people have this fear. I don't know most. A lot of people, a lot is a very common fear. It's a very common belief that rich people are bad people, and therefore we hold ourselves back because we don't want to be a bad person. Fear of failure and loss. This is a really common one. A lot of people hold themselves back because if they succeed, then they may not be able to hold that momentum, and they may lose what they gained. So rather than gaining it and losing it, they would rather just never have it at all. You know, the daydream of the thing, of the goal, is better than the reality of the goal. And subconsciously, we know this. It's probably not going to be how we envisioned it to be. So we would rather just not have it at all rather than destroy that vision, or have that vision destroyed, and the disappointment that could potentially come along with that. Very common thing. We think we want the thing, but we don't actually want the thing. We just want the idea of the thing. So, you know, just really sit down with all of your thoughts and your beliefs and take a really good hard look at anything that you may be afraid of, anything that may be keeping you self-sabotaging subconsciously, okay? Because it's subconscious. You're probably not doing it on purpose. Who in their right mind would, right? But it is a very, very, very common thing. Another common thing besides fear is worthiness. Do you feel worthy of it? And this comes back to that whole thing you hear about people saying you have to love yourself in order to receive love, which, you know, I should do a whole episode on, because that's kind of misleading and not exactly what they mean. And a lot of people don't take that the way it's meant to be took. But anyway, in order to manifest abundance, receive money, have all of these things, you have to believe that you are worthy of it. And worthy of it just because, not necessarily worthy because you're a good person or because you've done this and this and that and because you've worked hard, but more of like, you know, if you have a baby, especially if you're a parent or a grandparent and you have this child that is yours and you want to give it all of the things in the world, right? For no other reason than it is here and it exists in and of itself, it is worthy. Right? It's never done a thing. It's never done anything. It is worthy simply because it exists in this world. Do you feel the same way about yourself? Do you feel like you're worthy just because you exist? Most people are going to say yes when they're talking about a baby, but they're going to say no when referring to themselves. And if they say yes, it's going to be conditional. They're going to be like, yeah, because I'm this or I'm that. And we can't put conditions on it, okay? The baby is worthy just because it exists, just because it lives and breathes. Because, you know, when we're talking about money, specifically abundance, we recognize that the worthiness of just existing and having our needs met is what money represents. Being worthy of money means being worthy of having our needs met. Being worthy of finding happiness and joy and being able to experience things, right? Just because this life is meant to be full of things to experience. You want to give your kid all of the things. Well, why can't you want to give yourself all of the things? And a lot of us don't realize that we don't feel worthy. And a lot of that comes from past situations, circumstances, traumas, where other people and individuals have made us feel not worthy for one reason or another. So we need to take a good hard look at all of that and heal what needs to be healed in that area so that we can clear the blocks preventing all of this abundant flow to come in. Confidence is sexy, remember, right? Insecurity isn't. And remember Noelle from the last episode? We're trying to impress her, right? We want her to like us. Well, confidence is going to be all sparkly and get more of her attention rather than if we're trying to make ourselves small and stand in a corner and not be noticed, right? Then she's not going to notice us. And we don't want that. We want her to be our new best friend. To attract her, we have to get on her level. We got to put out the same vibration. We have to match her. And she's confident. She's bougie. She ain't got a concern or a worry in the world. It's never even crossed her mind whether or not she is deserving of everything she has. She's royalty. And despite what her haters be saying, because her haters be saying a lot, she got a lot of them, she keeps her head held high because she knows that she's above them. She's above that. She knows that they're wrong. They don't know her, and they just wish they knew her. And they just mad because they ain't her, and they ain't got her. So to make her our new best friend, for one, we have to believe that we're worthy to stand beside her, and we can't be intimidated by her. Nor can we be intimidated by all of the haters that hate her, because if we hanging out with her, they gonna start hating us too. Is that or is that not pretty much how people work? It's not how they should work, but it is how they work, usually. So we're working on our mindset, our energy, our vibration, our belief system. That's what all of this has been, our programming. We're revamping it towards something that lends to the manifestation of abundance. We have to become the type of person that has abundance in their life. So that also means taking steps to take care of ourselves. Because neediness is not attractive, right? You ever had someone try to sell you something and they're just really, really pushy, and the pushier they are, the more you're like turned off by this whole situation. You're like, I would not buy anything. I wouldn't buy a water from you if I was thirsting to death, dying of dehydration, simply because your pushiness is so yucky. It's the same thing with manifesting abundance. If you're trying to get in good with Noelle, the last thing you want to be is needy and wanting her to, like, just assuming she's going to cover the expenses for everything without any input from you, right? You wouldn't go to dinner with a friend and then expect them to pick up the bill, surely, right? I mean, yeah, we talked about letting her take care of us, but that comes in time, right? You have to build the relationship up to that point. And for now, we have to be not needy. We have to learn how to take care of ourselves, which means we have to look around for the opportunities to care for ourselves. Have you read the book Think and Grow Rich yet by Napoleon Hill? If you have not, please make that a priority. How can you even say that you're serious about manifesting abundance if you haven't? That is 100% your homework. Remember, we talked about the monks or whatever who said, trust as if everything relies on us. The monks, the gods, the guidance, the angels, whatever, but act as though everything relies on you. Because, yes, if you're not trying to help yourself, then the powers that be don't want to help you either. Don't be lazy and don't be looking for handouts. Be willing to do the work. Happy to do the work. Read your books, learn your things, keep an open mind, and always be looking for opportunities. Because that's how the universe works. It's not just going to like knock on your door and when you open it, the mailman's standing there with a stack of cash. That's not how that works. Instead, it's going to bring you opportunities, seemingly like magic, that are going to open doors to manifesting money. And don't get hung up on what you think they should be or what you think they should look like. There's a lot of times we'll miss the opportunities in front of us because we're like, I know that's not what that's supposed to look like. I'm focused on this over here. So we'll let that opportunity just skate on by us. And in the last episode, we briefly talked about how abundance can look like not what we expect it to look like. Abundance isn't always stacks of money in the bank, which is why when we're doing our visualizations, we don't want to focus on the money itself. We want to focus on that which we think the money is going to bring us, which is most likely emotions, but can also definitely be other like physical things. And then we need to be open to those things coming to us, not in the form of money, but in other forms. In what kind of forms? I don't know. You don't know. We don't know. We could not begin to imagine the possibilities and opportunities that are out there for us. For example, maybe we want to have all of our bills paid, right? That's pretty logical, common thing that we want. Well, instead of having enough money to do that, Perhaps instead, the universe brings us opportunities and knowledge to help us realize that we don't actually want all of these bills that we have already accumulated. So we become, because we're checking in with our money every month, right? And we're building that relationship. And maybe it comes in the form of us minimizing our bills so that we have less to pay. And then the ones that we have left become effortless to pay because we have all of this extra money from the, subscriptions that we've had for 3 years and never used that we finally cut off. Maybe we want enough money to buy healthy organic produce, right? And instead of accumulating the money for that, maybe it comes in the newfound love of gardening that we didn't know we had, and now we're growing our own. Maybe we want more free time to work on our health, and suddenly that friend that you've been hanging out with once or twice a week is really into pickleball and gets you sucked into it, so now y'all are playing pickleball all the time, and there you go. You have the exercise that you wanted but didn't have time for, right? I don't know, man. All sorts of things it can come to us in the form of. But we have to be open to recognizing that we're getting the thing we wanted, not in the form in which we thought it would come. Because it's almost never about the money. It's about what we think the money will get us. And we think that we want all of these nice fancy things when in fact what we actually want is what we think those nice fancy things are going to get us, which is usually better relationships and more free time, better health and more happiness and peace. So, your homework for now is to get your journal out or just meditate on it and work it over in your head. But sit and analyze all of your belief systems around all of this. Fear, worthiness, self-love, desires. Figure out what you actually want. It's probably not the money because, what are you just chasing clout? Remember, we want to be about it, not just look like we about it. So figure out exactly what it is underlying all of those things. And you may find that it's not actually money that you even care about. It's the feelings, it's the safety, the security, the better relationships, the peace, the happiness. And most of these things are things that we can get already. We just have to let go of thinking that it has to come from money. Maybe what we actually want to do is sell everything we own, have zero bills, and just backpack across Europe. Buy beat up old Volkswagen or bus and convert it into our living space and travel around. Go in with our friends and family and loved ones and buy a big plot of land and start a homestead. A lot of the wanting the money is conditioning of culture and society to think that that's the only way to get what we want. And for sure, it helps to have it, but have you ever heard the whole statistic about how many people who win the lottery end up completely flat broke very soon after? That's another thing you want to think about, because if you don't have the relationship with money that builds it gradually, if you get it instantly, then you're very likely to lose it all too. And I've never been a gambler. I've always been the one to I don't want to spend money in hopes of gaining more money. The only thing that I feel safe enough to gamble on is myself. Something as important as our safety, security, happiness, peace, you don't want to leave up to chance, You want to put it on yourself. You want to bet on yourself. There's no greater investment than in of yourself. Be your own knight in shining armor, because that's more secure. Anything that comes in randomly is going to be just as fleeting. But you got your back for the rest of your life. You got you. And that's the attitude you have to bring to all of this. There are no magic fixes. There is no someone coming to the rescue. There's no shortcuts. The long way is the shortcut. And like I say all the time, we're here until we're dead, right? We're here until we're not. Might as well be utilizing that time investing in yourself and learning and trying to make things happen for yourself, because the opportunities are out there, especially with the internet. Man, we have 1,000,000,000 times more opportunities than our ancestors ever had. Literally everything is at our fingertips. You just have to do the work. You have to do the shadow work. You have to do the reprogramming of the mindset and the belief systems. Become hyper aware of what you got going on in your head and how your thoughts translate into your actions and create your reality. Whether you believe you can or you believe you cannot, you are correct. So let me know what you think. Let me know if I can help you work through any of this. And until next week, namaste. Happy manifesting. Insert cool money, music, sounds, and stuff on the fade out that aren't working for me today.